variations of the conditional statement, the if-then. With the antecedent, then the consequence. For the conditional statement, the symbolic form is P then Q, or we can read it as if P then Q in English. For the converse, just swap the Q first and then P, or Q becomes the antecedent and P becomes the consequence. And when we read if Q then P. For the inverse, P is still on the left side of the arrow, Q is still on the right side, but we apply the negation to both of them. And when we read if not P, then not Q. And this is the inverse conditional statement. And the last case is called contrapositive. We swap P and Q and also apply the negation. When we read it in English, it's if not Q, then not P. As you notice, there are 4 different variations of the conditional statement. If you start with the P then Q, the converse, you just swap the position. The inverse, you don't swap, but you apply the negation. The contrapositive, you have to do both, swap and apply the negation. The relationship of these variations, P then Q, which is the conditional statement, is equivalent to the contrapositive. Q then P, which is the converse, is equivalent to not P then not Q, which is the inverse. Equivalent means they have the same truth value case by case. Or you look at a truth table and you can see each combination, the left and the right compound statement return the same truth value. This example, we're going to write the equivalent contrapositive for the given statements. Part A, if you live in Los Angeles, then you live in California. With this, we're going to identify or define the simple statements by letting P represent you live in Los Angeles and statement Q represents you live in California. Okay, from this one, you can write it in the symbolic form as if P then Q. The contrapositive is not Q then not P, or opposite and negation and also swap the position. When you write it in English, the equivalent form of this conditional or in a contrapositive form would be if you don't live in California, then you don't live in Los Angeles. For part B, if the electricity is out, then I cannot use the computer. First, we're gonna identify or define the simple statements PQ. We're gonna let the P represent the electricity is out. And the statement Q represent I cannot use the computer. From the given compound statement in the form of the conditional statement P then Q, the contrapositive just swap the position and also apply the negation. When we write in English, so we can say if I can use, which is the negation of I cannot, so I can use the computer, then the electricity is not out. as a contrapositive of the statement B. Next one, we're going to write converse and inverse of the statement. For the given statement, if you drink too much coffee, then you get hyper. So we consider this as the conditional statement P then Q. Therefore, we identify the statement P as it represents you drink too much coffee. You get hyper. So this represented by the statement Q. For the converse, you swap the position Q and P. In English, you write it as if you get hyper, then you drink too much coffee. For the inverse, you do not swap the position, but you apply negation to each statement. So the antecedent is not P, the consequent is not Q. When you write in English, it's gonna be if you don't drink too much coffee, then you don't get hyper. And one more example. Given the compound statement, if you are getting a haircut, then you are not studying. This compound statement is the conditional statement based on what we are given. So we're going to let P represent the statement you are getting a haircut, and the Q represents you are not studying. For the converse, which when we do it by swapping the antecedent and the consequence, we're going to write Q then P, or if Q then P. So write it as if you are not studying, then you are getting a haircut. So this is the converse. And for the inverse, the position are the same, but we apply the negation to both statements. And we can write it as if you are not getting a haircut, then the negation of the statement Q, which you are studying.